Hello everyone, good afternoon. यार क्या पढ़ रहे थे हम लोग? What was the next last topic we have gone through? Performance testing पढ़ रहे थे ना? Yes, I guess we have started performance testing and we had just
Yes,
the definition. So definition says that testing the stability basically the ability to withstand with the design number of users. जितना requirement था user का, जितना number of request का requirement था, whatever the number of request we have the requirement, with particular number of requirement, is my software is stable? Is my software stable or not? Means is it not breaking or is it breaking? Right? Basically, if it is breaking, it's not stable. If it is not breaking, it's stable. Response time is basically the amount of time you send a request. What is the amount of time does it take to give you the response back at your machine? That is particular response time. Apart from that, you just do apply the load. Means 4 lakh user, 5 lakh user, 4 lakh request, 5 lakh request, depending upon the customer's requirement. You put on the load on the software and try to verify the stability as well as the response time of the application. So basic idea is that is your performance testing. But performance testing would have different approaches. What is the first approach we have? First approach we have is load testing. Now, what is load testing? In the load testing, it's simple. We do test the same thing. We test the stability and the response time of an application by applying load. But when you have put on the load which is either equal to or less than the design number of users, means your particular amount of request which you are putting on the particular software, either it should be equal to the design number of user, means equal to the number of requests which is there in the requirement, or less than that, then that particular approach would be considered as load testing. ठीक है? Got it? Yes,
yes,
no,
sir.
anything else?
Yes,
Cool.
sir.
Cool. Now what is stress testing? ये परफॉर्मेंस टेस्टिंग ना हम लोग डे टू डे लाइफ में भी करते हैं. कैसे करते हैं मैं बताता हूँ. फॉर एन एग्जांपल, ओला जस्ट नाउ गिव यू अ न्यू इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल ना. So Ola said that it can bear up to 100 kgs, and the response time for that, as soon as you accelerate, it gives 0 to 100 na. 0 to 100 it will reach, 0 to 60 it will reach 5 seconds if you put on 100 kgs of load. So our load would be 100 kgs. Response time would be 0 to 5 seconds. Okay, 5 seconds somewhere. Let's take 5 seconds as a edge point. So your requirement is there, your load is there. They have given you the requirement. If you have to do performance testing on Ola, so if you are doing load testing, you either put 100 kgs or less than 100 kgs and try to make Ola vehicle run and check whether the 0 to 60 is under 5 seconds or 5 seconds or not. If it is there, it is working fine. Load testing is passed. If it is not there, if Ola scooter is braking, shaking, somewhere like that, then it is failed. Another scenario where the test is fail is basically where the response time is higher than the expected time. Got the understanding, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Should I repeat? Okay, cool, got right. So stress testing कैसे करेंगे? Stress testing का concept क्या है? What is the concept of stress testing? Testing the stability and response time of an application by applying load. Same thing, but here the load would be greater than the design number of users. It's just a kind of ad hoc. You have to put on that particular load and try to test whether it can bear. Right? It is not under the requirement. It is saying that more than the design number of users. You are stepping out of the boundary to check how far you can go. and you can find the breakpoint of it. For an example, 100 kg was the load. I put on the load by 125 kgs and try to check the response time and basically your stability. If for an example it works, basically it might work, then you try to put on more load until you see the break point wherein the exactly response time is going way out of the requirement and stability is going way out of the requirement. That point is called as break point. Recently World Cup happens, right? Hotstar have experienced a huge traffic more than the expected one in the duration of India Pakistan match. There is huge crowd in millions they have watched India Pakistan match on Hotstar, but still that particular application didn't crash. Neither it was damn slow to watch the match. It was going on air. It was going live. So why exactly that particular application didn't got crashed that time when we applied load way more amount than expected? Because they have done their performance testing in a better way. They have examined, they have checked what is the breakpoint of the application, and then they have did what they have done. They have tested it, and they are sure that till this amount, if even though the crowd is in till this amount, it won't crash. Have you ever heard of that particular series, Physics Wala? In Amazon Mini, it was there. Anyone watched it?
Which one, sir?
Physics Wala.
No, sir.
Oh, yeah, if you haven't watched that, I can't give you the example of that. But yeah, so basically, but this Hotstar one you got it right, the World Cup one. So what they
Yes,
have
sir.
done, they have tested it, load testing they have done, but they have also done stress testing to check what is the limit. So when the a crowd increased, they know where exactly it will break. They're calm. They know it will handle up till this. Got it? तो ये तो हो गया load testing and stress testing. Load testing is when you apply load equal to or less than design number of user. Stress testing is basically, stress word is basically handling more than your capacity, right? Then and there the stress will happen. So you are trying to apply more load than the expected, than the design number, and then that time it is called as a stress testing, and you check the same thing in both stability and the response time. What comes soak testing? What is soak testing?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, sir, how the stress testing is done? I mean, how to simulate that situation of
Yeah,
millions of users?
yeah. So there are tools. There are tools called JMeter, Load Runner, that will help you simulating that number of requests. Okay. So
Okay.
there will be a need of little bit programming knowledge in order to create that script, which will basically go and hit the server at the right state and check the response time and stability. So that tool helps you simulating that. You can't gear to have 4 lakh user asking them to come to a hall and seminar hall and something like that and ask them to hit the server at the same time. It's not possible. So that's why they have created some sort of tools in order to do that. So JMeter and Load Runner are the few most popular ones. These are just tools, right? Similar to Jira, similar to other tools, Figma and all. These are just tools. But to handle that tool, you need some sort of knowledge. So that is there. So that tool helps you simulate that number of user and number of requests. That tool will trigger the request and send it to the server. The tool will calculate the response time of the server side application. Okay. So that tool
Yes,
basically
sir.
do all the stuff, and you check the stability. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Now coming up to soak testing. A soak is the word which we used to listen at our home at day-to-day life, right? We used to soak some of the vegetables, some of the nuts in order to get them cooked in a better way, right? So basic idea is that what is soak? Putting something under any liquefied substance for a certain period of time, correct? So that it will soak everything and it will basically try to like change the state of that particular matter, right? So
Yes, sir.
the most important thing is basically putting it under something and leave it for a certain period of time. So what we were doing till now, right, in the load testing and stress testing, for an example, we have simulated 4 lakh requests. That 4 lakh request will go to the server, generates the response, get the response, test is done. So there will be a chance, if you are putting it for 1 second, it is working fine. But if you continuously hitting the server again and again and again and again with 4 lakh user for a particular period of time, that might be there might be a chance wherein the server will be giving the response late. Is that's a chance, right? अगर तुम नया नया लैपटॉप लेते हो and you are trying to do a heavy work on that, for few hours it will work fine, but after few hours it will the performance start degrading, right? After a few hours of time
Yes,
when
sir.
the machine got heated and all, that start degrading, the performance start degrading. The problem was that if you are trying to utilize your machine for a particular period of time, there might be chances your machine will basically, or your software will basically not work as good as it was working for the very first second. So keeping that in our mind, we have designed something called as soak testing. So we are soaking it, we are soaking the software in the load. So instead of hitting it for 1 second and getting the response and verifying, we are continuously hitting it for a particular period of time and checking whether the application is stable or not. We are check the same thing, stability and response time, for a particular period of time, continuously applying the load and check whether the application is working fine or not. Got it? Same thing,
Yes,
but
sir.
but for a longer duration. Here there is no state of doing it more than design number of users. So basically we usually soak the software in the design number of users. Okay, less than or equal to. Okay, got it?
Yes, sir.
So now we were talking about requests, right? Throughout we were talking about requests from the user end. From the user end it goes to the server, server will create the response and get the response to us, basically, correct? Throughout we are talking about a user sending a request. But have you ever thought, can a server send a request to another server? There are certain things called as backup server, if you have heard about it. Backup server होते हैं, this is YouTube might have its backup server. Your banks will definitely have backup servers, correct? And what is the job of those backup servers? Continuously do what? Continuously take the backup from the main server, correct? And that used to be apart. It's not most of the time. No, the backup servers are not there in the same building. In case of fire or in case of any natural disaster, it should not be like your main server and backup server are both are getting impacted. So they used to have their backup server and main server apart. And the job of backup server is take the data from the main server continuously within microseconds and seconds, basically. Getting my point? So that is the job of your backup server. So here the request is different if you compare it with the request of user. The request of user to get a page, the request of backup server is basically to get a data from the main server, correct? So request is different, even the data is different. The data is basically will be different in terms of size. The person who is requesting from here, giving the user id and password and clicking on login, requesting from here is requesting for a home page, but a main server will request for the user data, user each and every data from the user end, right? The user id, password, platform or, and a lot more instances, right? How many times a user clicks where, something like that. There will be a lot more data which an application extract from your end in order to track you, correct? So basic idea is that the main server, the backup server needs to get those data. So the load here is not exactly the number of requests. The load here will be huge amount of data, isn't it? When you talk about backup server and main server, backup server, if you want to do testing, performance testing on the backup server, the request will be not in the form of this. The load will be not in the form of a request, sorry. The load which is there on the backup server will not be in the form of this particular request. It will be in the form of huge data, correct? Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So basically, there will be continuous transferring of data from main server to backup server will be happening, and there will be, that is basically a load to the main backup server. And for that, you need to test that particular software with this perspective also. Testing by applying huge volume of data, basically testing the stability and response time of an application by transferring huge amount of data. Why? Because it is not the only thing. Number of requests from the user, and it's not the only thing a server would handle. A server would also handle the huge amount of data in terms of, like for an example, it's a database server. So there might be chances there will be a transformation of huge amount of data. Backup server of database server will also face this kind of challenges. So we need to test this particular server side applications, whether it is working fine or not, whether it is working beautifully or not, by doing performance testing. But here we will definitely have a load, but not in terms of request, it will be in terms of data. Are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So basic idea is that now this is a concept. This is also a new concept wherein the data got changed. Data is basically sorry, not data. Request got changed. Now the request is not requesting for a particular page, but request is for having some sort of huge amount of data. So with the data also you can do load testing, stress testing, and soak testing. Load testing by checking whether the amount whether the application is stable with the very given amount of data or not, given by the customer, expected amount of data or not. By keeping more amount of data rather than expected, that would be stress testing with behalf of data. And also you can do soak testing with behalf of data, correct? It's no written concept, but these are something which we can do. It's nowhere written, correct?
Yes, sir.
Cool. So you have to understand. So if interview asks you what is the types of load testing, you should say only four types: load testing, stress testing, soak testing, and volume testing. But obviously, if we are doing volume testing, we can also do volume testing in three ways: with the load perspective, stress perspective, and soak perspective. Got it? Everyone got that?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Cool. So that is the end of performance testing. Any questions here? It's easy, right? Although you have to just understand it theoretically. It's not that we are dealing with this particular concept in our career if we are not a professional performance tester. Okay, cool. No questions, right? I'll move on to compatibility testing. I think I have the PDF somewhere here. Mhm. Give me a second, guys. This is the one. No questions around performance testing, right?
No.
Cool. So let's talk about compatibility testing. So compatibility testing the software in multiple hardware and software platform. So you remember system testing, we were talking about environment. It should be similar to production environment, right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So that time we were talking about the server side environment, but here in compatibility testing, we will be talking about talking on the user side environment, the customer side, the client side environment. Okay, so customer, for an example, if you open a website, right? If you open a website for everyone, for an example, my website is Make My Trip. If I open it for everyone, customer might use it with one platform or might use it with multiple platforms. For an example, we have thought that we'll generate this Make My Trip in Chrome browser. So developer use Chrome browser to test whether the application is working fine or not. They have given it to us. We also test it in Chrome browser, and we open it for everyone. So chances are high the customers will not use only Chrome browser. They might use Mozilla Firefox, they might use Internet Explorer, they might use Microsoft Edge, they might use Safari. Getting my point? So basic idea is that there are different variety of end user side platforms, even though not only the software level but also the hardware level. For an example, they might use different hardware configuration, Android and iPhone, right? And there might be chances there will be also on the software level there will be different configurations like Windows and Mac OS, right? All this all these things creates an environment from client side for the application. Getting my point? So basic idea is that if you develop and test your software in a one platform, for an example, we tested in one platform, Windows 10 and Chrome browser, and basically did what we basically open it for everyone, tested and delivered to the customer move it to the production. Under production there will be a lot of using it from Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, and they will be using Microsoft Edge, they will be using Safari on different OS levels also. So there might be chances the application is working fine on Chrome browser but not working fine on these other platforms. So to avoid that, we used to do compatibility testing. So what is testing? Compatibility testing. Testing the application in multiple hardware and software platforms is called compatibility testing. Why we do compatibility testing? Chances are there if you develop and test it in a one platform and user will use it with different platform and find a bug. To avoid that, to catch those bugs beforehand, we used to test it in a different platform so that we catch those bugs and we get it in a sync. The application which is behaving in the base platform which we have kept, which developer is using and we are using to test initially, the behavior is same as that particular platform throughout to other platforms, right? Internet Explorer and Mozilla Firefox, every platform the behavior should be same, there should not be a defect. I'll also tell you one more thing. Most of the time while doing compatibility testing you'll see UI bugs like this. For an example, this is your Chrome browser. The alignments are like this. There might be chances, not this far it will be, but yeah, somewhere up and down will be there. Cosmetic bugs will be there. The alignment were not correct, overlapping of components, something like that. Resolution problems and all. Getting my point? So basically, that kind of problems you might see. Okay, got it?
Yes, yes, sir.
Now the question arise here is basically, sir, there will be a lot more platforms. If you talk about configuration also, there will be a lot more platform. If we are developing Android applications, sir, there will be a lot more platform. There will be Xiaomi phone, there will be Oppo phone, there will be Vivo phone, there will be the configurations are different. No, there will be this phone, there will be that phone. If you are releasing a iOS application, there will be iPhone 10, iPhone 11, iPhone 12 with different OSs, iOS 15, iOS 14, iOS 13. Sir, how many devices we need to test, sir? And how come this possible, sir? In work from home, we are at different places. If you want to test, I want to test a software in three different devices. Will company send me three different devices, sir? This is the question, right? Correct?
Yes, sir. We will test in virtual machines.
Correct. But that is not correct. We'll test in virtual machines, but that is not correct. Virtual machines is basically existing machines which is there in different place, right? So it's not a correct thing to say, it's not a correct word to phrase. So correct word is basically cloud devices. Will work on cloud devices. So basically first of all we need to understand the process. We'll go through the platforms and then we'll go through the how to get those platforms. Okay, so first one is basically how to execute, how we do compatibility testing. So for an example, our base platform is Windows 10 and basically the software is there in the under Windows 10, and let's assume Chrome browser under Windows 10 Chrome browser, right? So this is our base platform. This is our base platform. Now we have decided this base platform, developer is developing on top of this platform, and we are testing this particular platform for the very first time. So few builds you will only execute on base platform until the build got stable. You got that understanding that the functionality is stable now. Then you move on to compatibility testing. For an example, you can see it here, right? This is the base platform they have developed. They have given you you the build one. You have done the testing on Windows 10 only, which is the base platform. Build 2, Windows 10 only. Build 3, Windows 10 only. From build 19, you have started your compatibility testing, wherein you test the same thing in different OS version and try to make sure that the whole software is in the sync. Now, obviously, why do we do this approach? Why do we only test on the base platform for few cycles and then only move on to the compatibility testing? If it is breaking in base platform, definitely it will break in other platforms also. So first, we need to make sure the application is stable in the base platform, then move on to other platforms. Got it?
Yes.
Cool. So this is your compatibility testing approach. Okay. Now the basic idea is that, sir, how to decide base platform and how to get what all devices need to be tested, what all configuration need to be tested. Where is that slide? Yeah, this. So we used to create uh, device tracking metrics, or basically we used to call, there is one more time, I just forgot it right now, but the thing is that we used to create a matrix wherein we'll have, if it is an Android, this is an example of a device matrix. Yeah, device matrix. This is an example of a mobile devices. We used to create this kind of matrix wherein you have one segment you have different OS version, another segment you have different company names, or basically this is basically to track, to map your devices here. For an example, Samsung with KitKat operating system, we have Samsung S21, which is there in the market. Samsung haven't provided that particular device an update to Lollipop. It is there. So we'll just map all the devices with all these operating systems right now. Even though iOS will also have this kind of mapping system, and we'll send it to the client. Will send this matrix to the client to get the approval. Okay, once we send this matrix to the client, client will analyze their data. Okay, if I run a company, I know which particular person of my company uses which particular hardware and software configuration. I, as a boss, know that my most of the audience are using Android, and under Android they are using Marshmallow. So I will tell, because my 80% or 70% crowd are concentrated on this particular platform, I will ask you guys, I will ask the IT engineers to take this particular platform as a base platform. Because even though if something is breaking, it will not impact huge audience. Getting my point? This is how you select a base platform, depending upon the client call, depending upon the client data. So client will tell, okay, this will be the base platform. This is the platform wherein you exactly have to do what, wherein you exactly have to conduct your main testing, and then the rest through three more platforms which they feel that their audience are in, and then they will tell you, okay, these are the platform you need to test, and rest all you will exclude from your testing. Got it? Most of the time they will say that take the latest OS version and two-step up before that particular OS versions. For an example, Android 12 is the latest, 13 is the latest, and 12 and 11 also should be supported by this particular software. Less than that, we don't care. You also shouldn't care. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So this is the real time this used to happen in the industry. Okay, now this is how you decide which all devices needs to be tested. Now, for an example, I am responsible to test the login functionality, Rajesh is responsible to test the home page, and Ramesh is responsible to test the sales page. We all three need to do the testing. We all three need to do the testing on the base platform as well as the supporting platforms to for the compatibility testing. Now the question arises: we three need at least three devices in order to conduct our testing. Currently, I'm in Raipur, Chhattisgarh, Rajesh is in Mumbai, and your Ramesh is in Hyderabad. So IT company need to send three devices each to everyone in our uh, team. This will be expensive process, correct?
Yes, sir.
So one devices at the least, if we are talking about iOS only, one devices at the least it will cost you around uh, 80,000 right now. The latest one is starting from 80,000. 14 is starting from 80,000, right?
Yes, sir.
This is a problem. This is a problem, right? This cost a lot. So we have a solution for that. Where is my Chrome browser? So we have a solution for that. We have Cloud Labs. So we have a Cloud Labs. One example of that which which I'm using in my current project is Perfecto. Not this one. This one. So it's not a free app. You need to get a subscription. But what this particular platform used to, this particular company used to do, this particular company used to get the devices. They have a lot of devices, right? In lakhs, in thousands, they have the devices. They have the devices and they have connected those devices with the internet, and they will give you the access of those devices. So you can sit at your place, connect to that device which is there in their labs. Okay, and then you can basically do what you can test. You can install your application in those particular devices and you can test. Getting my point? So Perfecto is a cloud lab, and Perfecto devices are the cloud based devices, which are real devices. You can connect with those devices and test whether the application is working fine or not. Getting my point? So this particular thing got resolved. We can have only three devices. We can rent it out over Perfecto. Basically, we don't have to even buy it. We can rent it out from Perfecto, and Perfecto will give the access to all three of us, me, Rajesh, and Ramesh, and we like basically simultaneously connect to those devices with the help of Perfecto application, and we can do what we can do our test there. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
This is one way. Another way is basically your simulators. So there are many applications which can simulate a mobile device in your laptop, which will use your laptop processor, which will use your laptop nothing but your hardware and software things, and which will help you uh, create a mobile device inside your laptop itself. But those are not real devices. Those are not trustworthy testing, I would say. Why? Because something which is working fine in simulators, basically that thing might not work properly in real device. So there is a gap in the behavior of both the devices, simulators, emulators, and basically your nothing but your real devices. So that's why it is not recommended. You can do the smoke testing, you can do sanity testing there, but not exactly the whole testing you can do on simulators. That is not recommended. Got it?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Understood, guys? Cool. Another way, there is one more way of doing compatibility testing is by you guys. We have the cloud testing. Sorry, not cloud testing. We call it as uh, people testing or crowd testing. Basically, we'll call a lot of people together, which they have basically different devices. We ask them to use those applications. We open it for everyone, and then we used to tell them to report bugs. So this is majorly called as beta testing also sometimes. So beta testing is basically opening a beta version of the application for everyone and observe that application is behaving properly. Okay. So it's most of the time it's for those applications which is not that critical, which is not payment related, security related. Okay. So yeah, so those kind of applications they used to open it and they used to ask everyone to use it, and if they found a bug they used to report it, and this is how they do the testing. Not only this is not only for the compatibility testing, for acceptance testing also customer used to do this kind of stuff. Okay, got it.
Yes, sir.
So this is your compatibility testing. There is a lot more thing to understand here. I'll tell you. Compatibility testing could be done on all three types of application: standalone application also, client server application also, web based application also. If it is a standalone application, there the configuration will be on OS and basically your hardware level. So you have to ask your client which all devices they want your application to be supported, and then you'll do the compatibility testing. Client server application is basically like Gmail and Facebook and all, right? So they will have their own data that most of their users are concentrated in there, and they have then you have to test the client side application, basically, which is installed in the devices, whether it is working fine on all the devices or not. And then web application, most of the time you can do the compatibility testing of web application on browser stack and perfecto also. It will provide you the ability of that also. But yeah, you can also have uh, multiple browsers in your device, in your like laptops, and you can do the testing. But the thing is that most of the time when they used to tell you to do the web application testing, they used to ask you to do Chrome and different version of Chrome, like 12.5, 12.6, and at a time you can only have one version of Chrome in your device, right? In your
Yes, sir.
machine, right? So that's why we have to use the browser stack kind of thing, wherein you can just go and change the configuration and you can just do the testing. Okay, so that is there. So it is possible on all three types of application whichever you have, and that will basically do what, help you do your compatibility testing. So there is one more question here in this slide: how to test web application. This is the most commonly asked question. Now you have got the good amount of knowledge of everything, so you can understand these things. Let's try to understand things, right? What are the step by step thing? If someone asks you a question, this question, how to test the application or how to test the web application, this should be your answer. This is moreover a web application concentrated answer, so try to analyze it and try to understand it, how to modify it in terms of the client server application or standalone application. Okay, so first of all, the web application means basically it will have multiple components, and each and every component need to be tested. That's why I will first of all do the functionality testing. The web application will have a lot of data flow, feature by feature or module by module. That's why it is very much needed in order to do the integration testing. That's why I'll do integration testing. Now if it is an application, it will have an end-to-end flow, and if it is opening for the customers and end users, the end user will have a lot of end-to-end flows or end-to-end working functionalities. So I will definitely do conduct system testing under the web application. If end users might basically, if you're opening it for the end users, end user might use this particular application with the different platforms. That's why it makes way more important to conduct a compatibility testing on that particular application, so that it will be basically do what, basically accessible for everyone, better accessible for everyone. There will not a lot of bugs based on the OS levels and based on the hardware and software configuration of the client side. Then we'll also try to check the application with cookies enabled and disabled, JavaScript enabled and disabled. These are the settings of the browsers basically. Cookies used to store your data, your ID password kind of stuff, and memorize where exactly you have cookies used to store a lot of data than the user ID and password, I would say. there are certain analytics which application would have. You have heard about AI and ML, right? Earlier. So what these things are? These things are nothing but the data and analysis of the data. So if a user go to Amazon and most of the time it goes and clicks a mobile and electronic section, so we are registering that particular data whether that particular user is uh, interested in that particular component or not, basically. So that also gets stored initially in cookies. So basically if you turn it off, how the behavior of the application you can test. JavaScript is used to create a dynamic style in the UI. So if you disable it, is it breaking or something like that, you can test it with that also. You can test it with different resolution. Most of the applications nowadays are responsive, means any resolution you change it, it will automatically do it, automatically restore its UI. And for that you can test it with different resolution. I can test it with different resolution while doing the compatibility testing. I can do usability testing to check whether the application is user friendly or not. I can test the application with multiple, what is this, web application means multi-user application, load application. Okay, yeah. So basically when you move the this particular web application on the server and production server, there will be huge number of crowd will be there on the application. So we will definitely conduct something called as performance testing also. Web security testing. Basically, web security testing is moreover related to the security testing. That is moreover payment. Most of the time, it is interactive with the payment method. So I will test. I will do the integration testing from my end to the payment, because whatever application you nowadays use, right, that will be affiliated by a different third party payment portal. जैसे तुम वीज देखते हो ना, जब भी प्रोसीड करते हो तो यहाँ से फ्लिपकार्ट से या अमेजोन से यू विल सी अ वीजा पेमेंट पोर्टल. जो पेमेंट वाला वेब पेज आता है ना, वो अमेजोन का नहीं होता है, वो दूसरी कंपनी का होता है. सो देयर विल बी अ ट्रांजैक्शन ऑफ डेटा फ्रॉम द अमेजोन टू that particular payment portal, and there will be transformation and there will be confirmation coming back to the Amazon also whether the payment is done or not. So you will check whether the data is encrypted or not, वो सही से सेफली जा रहा है कि नहीं जा रहा है, करेक्टली जा रहा है कि नहीं जा रहा है. एंड बेसिकली दैट काइंड ऑफ टेस्टिंग इज कॉल्ड एज सिक्योरिटी टेस्टिंग. तो यू विल डू दैट काइंड ऑफ टेस्टिंग आल्सो. ये किसी भी चीज पे हो सकती है सिक्योरिटी टेस्टिंग, और ये मेनली इसमें ऐसा कुछ अलग से नहीं होता है. यू जस्ट ट्राई टू एनालाइज की डेटा सही से जा रहा है कि नहीं जा रहा है, और सेफली एनक्रिप्टेड वे में जा रहा है कि नहीं जा रहा है. ठीक है. Then comes to check the application is user friendly or not. We'll check how. Okay, cool. So this is one more point, that comes under accessibility testing. Accessibility testing is basically a specialized type of testing, and the only thing I can tell you on behalf of accessibility testing is basically we are testing here a lot of things, but moreover we are concentrated on making the application accessible for specially abled people. Specially abled people or specially challenged people could be basically of different type. So some people are visually impaired, they can't see things properly. Some people cannot see anything, and some people cannot listen anything. So there are different things, right? So basically we will test the application with all different devices and with all different perspectives and make sure that application is accessible for everyone. There is something called as VACAC guideline. VACAC guideline is basically a guideline for those who wants to make sure the application is user friendly with the specially able people. And this whole testing to test the application whether the application is accessible for specially able people is called as accessibility testing. This is not part of your syllabus itself, just a high level understanding. Okay. No one will ask any questions in the interview also from accessibility testing. They know if you shouldn't know, if you shouldn't mention also you are a accessibility tester. Okay. Then comes if the application is developed for multiple languages, then we have to do globalization testing. This is under your particular course. We'll get through this. Okay, in future. So basically, it's when you have seen Facebook, right? So Facebook may, if you tab in different language section, the Facebook page changes in another language. So we used to test whether the application is changing the language properly, the content is rendering properly, and also whether the behavior of application is changing according to the country standard and the region standard or not. For an example, if you are loading Facebook payment portal of Facebook in India, it should basically uh, display the amount in rupees, and if you are loading the same page in Chinese, giving the location of China, it should show you yang, correct? So the behavior somewhere also changes with the region, so we have to test that as well as with the change of the language also. Okay, got it? So this should be your answer, full answer with 12, 10 to 12 points, whatever it is. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So this is all about compatibility testing. The various compatibility testing bug which you can found is basically moreover UI bug, scattered content, alignment issue, broken frame, which is there. Like for an example, this is enclosed in one frame. The text is going beyond that particular frame. Object overlapping, one component overlapping another component, change of font size, font style, and color, and object overlapping. Basically, this is two times somewhere. But yeah, got it, guys?
Yes, sir.
Any
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
questions
sir.
around it? Compatibility testing or performance testing? Anyone? पूछो भाई, तुम लोग कुछ पूछते ही नहीं हो। सब इतने अच्छे समझ में आ जाते, इतना अच्छा टीचर तो नहीं हूँ मैं।
फिर
एक बार में
रिवीजन करने
सर
के बाद अच्छे
एनेबल
से
डिस
डाउट निकलेगा।
हाँ, ये बात तो है, मैं भी
सर
मानता हूँ।
एनेबल और डिसेबल जो ये जावास्क्रिप्ट उससे थोड़ा रिवीजन कर ली।
देखो, मैं करके बताता हूँ, बोल के बताने से अच्छा है। तो तुम हर ब्राउजर में जाओगे ना, यू विल सी द सेटिंग, यू विल गो सेटिंग, किधर है सेटिंग यार? अच्छा, इधर से मिलेगा। यू गो टू वेब ब्राउजर, गो टू सेटिंग, अंडर दैट सेटिंग बस मेरा यूजर आईडी पासवर्ड वगैरह ना दिख जाए तो कुछ ही मिलेगा। एक्सेसिबिलिटी, ये तो कुछ और है। लैंग्वेज है, यही कहीं होता है जावास्क्रिप्ट का सेटिंग और प्राइवेसी एंड सिक्योरिटी में। देखो, ये कुकी सेटिंग है ना, you can turn off and on this cookie setting, particular cookie setting, block all cookie, block all third party cookie. This is with this particular setting off or on, no, the behavior of application might be different. So you will turn this on and off and check whether it is working fine or not. Okay, so this used to store the cookies from your end and send it to the backend. Even though क्या होता है basically, when you go to the Chrome browser, you sometimes you do what, you just say that Chrome browser to save the ID and password that got saved in the cookie. So every time you visit that particular website now, it will autofill that user ID and password and ask you to log in. समझ रहे हो? तो cookie is for that particular purpose, save the data.
Sir,
इसके ऊपर
JavaScript is in site settings.
साइट सेटिंग में है ना। तो बेसिकली ये जो
Yes,
ये जो
sir.
ये जो ये तुम्हारा वो होता है ना, ये कुकी के ऊपर एक बहुत बड़ा केस भी हुआ था गूगल के ऊपर कि यू आर लाइक सेविंग द डेटा, इवन मार्क जुकरबर्ग गॉट क्वेश्चन इन दिस, यू आर सेविंग द यूजर डेटा विदाउट टेलिंग देम समथिंग लाइक दैट। ठीक है, तो ये होता है। साइट सेटिंग ही नहीं दिख रहा है भाई को, किधर है?
And search.
सर्च इंजन में मैंने साइट सेटिंग नहीं है यार, इधर तो होगा यही
Sir,
कहीं।
privacy and security. Sir, privacy and security, then site settings.
ओके ओके ओके, यहाँ ये है जावास्क्रिप्ट। यहाँ से तुम उसको ऑन ऑफ कर सकते हो। लेट्स रीलोड द पेज, गो बैक। इसमें तो कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं पड़ा, बट देयर माइट बी चांसेस योर एप्लीकेशन माइट हैव डिफरेंट बिहेवियर। ठीक है, देखो यहाँ पर एरो भी आ रहा है, जावास्क्रिप्ट डिसेबल डिसेबल्ड। So this is for the UI construction most of the time. ये जो transition चलते हैं, dynamic चीजें आती है ना, जो आते जा रहा है. This is the video first of all. But कभी कभी ना banner पे ऐसे चीजें बदलती रहती है. So that is being created with the JavaScript. The styling is done with the JavaScript. So if you turn off the thing like JavaScript, most of the time the UI got breaked. So you need to test it. Okay, I'll go and turn it on. But any questions apart from this? अभी समझ गए ना?
Yes, sir.
Cool. Cool. Then see you guys tomorrow.
Sir, tomorrow the New Year है.
अरे हाँ, कल 1 तारीख है ना? Okay, not tomorrow. Sorry?
संडे है सर कल.
Monday मिलते हैं.
Yes sir.
Okay, sir.
Happy New Year, sir.
Sir, advance Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to all. Happy New Year to
सबको Happy New Year guys. चलो, bye bye.
Bye.